You don't belong here." The words hung in the air like poison as Maya Rodriguez stood in the marble-floored lobby of Sterling Associates, the most prestigious law firm in downtown Chicago. She had worked her entire life for this moment to walk through these doors not as a visitor, but as the firm's newest senior partner. Yet here she was, being questioned by the receptionist about whether she was in the right place. Maya's fingers tightened around her leather briefcase. 20 years of fighting, clawing, and proving herself over and over again had led to this. She had graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Law, had never lost a major case, and had just been headhunted by Sterling Associates with an offer that would make her the first Latina senior partner in the firm's 150-year history. "I'm Maya Rodriguez," she said, her voice steady despite the fire burning in her chest. "I'm expected in Mr. Sterling's office at 9. The receptionist, a young blonde woman whose nameplate read Brittany, looked Maya up and down with barely concealed skepticism. "Are you sure you're not looking for the cleaning service entrance? That's around back." The lobby fell silent. Other employees stopped their conversations, their eyes darting between Maya and Brittany like spectators at a tennis match. Maya felt the familiar weight of being the only brown face in a sea of white ones. The burden she had carried through law school, through her previous firms, through every courtroom where opposing counsel assumed she was the defendant rather than the attorney. "I said I'm Maya Rodriguez," she repeated, this time letting steel creep into her voice. "Senior partner. Would you please call Mr. Sterling?" Before Brittany could respond, the elevator chimed, and out stepped Richard Sterling himself, a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair and a suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. His face lit up when he saw Maya. "Maya, welcome to Sterling Associates. I trust Brittany has been taking good care of you?" His eyes moved to the receptionist who had turned 3 shades paler. "Actually," Maya said, never breaking eye contact with Brittany, "she suggested I might be looking for the cleaning service entrance." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Richard's smile froze on his face, and several nearby employees suddenly found their phones very interesting. Brittany's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I didn't, I mean," Brittany stammered. Maya raised a hand. "It's fine, Mr. Sterling. I'm used to it. Shall we proceed to your office?" As they walked toward the elevator, Maya could hear the whispers starting behind them. She knew by lunchtime, the story would have spread through the entire firm. The new senior partner had been mistaken for cleaning staff on her first day. Some would be horrified. Others would find it amusing. All would be talking about it. The elevator ride to the top floor was uncomfortably quiet. Richard cleared his throat several times, clearly struggling with how to address what had just happened. Maya stared at the floor numbers climbing higher, thinking about her mother, who actually had cleaned offices to put Maya through school. There was no shame in honest work, but the assumption always stung. "Maya," Richard finally said as they reached the 40th floor, "I want to apologize for—" "Don't!" Maya cut him off as they stepped into the hallway. "Don't apologize for her. This isn't about one receptionist. This is about a culture that looks at someone like me and automatically assumes I don't belong in a place like this." Richard's office was a monument to success, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, walls lined with degrees and awards, a desk the size of a small car. Maya had seen offices like this before, had been in meetings where she was the only woman, the only person of color fighting to prove she deserved to be there. "Please sit," Richard said, gesturing to a leather chair across from his desk. "I want you to know that Sterling Associates is committed to diversity and inclusion. We have policies." "Policies," Maya repeated, settling into the chair. "Tell me, Mr. Sterling, how many partners of color did you have before me?" Richard shifted uncomfortably. "Well, we've had several associates over the years." "Partners," Maya emphasized. "Not associates, not summer interns. Partners." The silence stretched between them like a chasm. Finally, Richard cleared his throat. "You would be our first." Maya nodded. She had suspected as much. And your partnership is how large? 43 partners total. So in 150 years of operation, you've never had a Black, Latino, Asian, or Native American partner. That's correct. Maya leaned back in her chair, studying the man across from her. Richard Sterling was not a bad man, she realized. He was probably well-intentioned, genuinely believed in equality, donated to the right causes, but he was also a man who had spent his entire life in a bubble of privilege so complete that he couldn't see the walls. "Do you know why I'm really here, Mr. Sterling?" Maya asked. "You're here because you're one of the finest attorneys in the country. Your record speaks for itself. I'm here because 3 months ago, your firm was hit with a discrimination lawsuit by Maria Santos, a Latina associate who was passed over for partner, despite having better numbers than her male colleagues. I'm here because the lawsuit garnered national attention, and suddenly Sterling Associates needed to show they were serious about diversity. I'm here because you need me more than I need you." Richard's face flushed red. "That's not, yes, the lawsuit was unfortunate, but your qualifications are impeccable, I know. But let's not pretend this is just about my qualifications. If it were, I would have been recruited by firms like this 10 years ago. Instead, I've been building my own practice, winning cases that partners here couldn't dream of, and being overlooked because I don't fit the image of what a senior partner is supposed to look like." Maya stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city sprawling below. "Do you see that building down there, the red brick one?" She pointed to a structure about 20 blocks away. "That's where my mother cleaned offices for 30 years. Every night she would come home with stories about the lawyers and executives whose trash she emptied, whose coffee stains she scrubbed from conference room tables. She would tell me about the meetings she overheard, the deals being made, the power being wielded, and she would say, 'Mia, someday you're going to be sitting at those tables, not cleaning under them.'" She turned back to Richard, who was listening intently. "My mother sacrificed everything so I could have opportunities she never had. She worked double shifts, took weekend jobs, skipped meals so I could afford law school. And do you know what she said when I told her about your offer?" Richard shook his head. "She said, 'Make sure they know you belong there.' Not that you belong there, that they know it, because she understood something that took me years to learn. It's not enough to deserve a seat at the table. You have to make them acknowledge that you deserve it." Maya returned to her chair, sitting forward with her hands clasped. "So, here's what's going to happen, Mr. Sterling. I'm going to take your offer. I'm going to become the best senior partner this firm has ever seen. I'm going to bring in more clients, win more cases, and generate more revenue than any of your current partners. But I'm not going to do it quietly. I'm not going to be grateful for the opportunity or pretend that discrimination doesn't exist. I'm going to be visible, vocal, and unapologetically myself." Richard nodded slowly. I think that's exactly what we need." "Good, because I'm also going to insist on some changes. Sensitivity training for all staff, and I mean all staff, from partners down to receptionists, a mentorship program for attorneys of color, transparent promotion criteria, and I want to personally review every hiring decision for the next year." That's quite an extensive list." "It's a starting point," Maya said. "Change doesn't happen overnight, but it also doesn't happen by accident. It requires intention, commitment, and sometimes discomfort." Richard was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands folded on the desk. When he looked up, something had shifted in his expression. "You know, my daughter is about your age. She's a teacher in the inner city. She tells me stories about her students' bright kids who don't see themselves reflected in positions of power, who don't believe they can achieve certain things because they've never seen anyone who looks like them do it. I never really understood what she meant until now." Maya felt a flicker of hope. Real change required allies, not just policies. "Your daughter sounds like a wise woman." "She is, and she's going to be very excited to hear about our new senior partner." As they shook hands across the polished mahogany desk, Maya thought about the receptionist downstairs, about the whispers that would follow her through the halls, about the battles she would have to fight to prove herself worthy of a position she had already earned 10 times over. It would be exhausting, frustrating, and sometimes demoralizing. But it would also be worth it. Because somewhere in the city, there was a young Latina girl dreaming of becoming a lawyer, and someday she would see Maya's name on the letterhead of Sterling Associates and know that it was possible. She would know that she belonged at any table she was qualified to sit at. The elevator ride back to the lobby was different this time. Richard insisted on personally introducing Maya to key staff members, making it clear that she was not just another employee, but a senior partner who commanded respect. Maya watched the surprise and quick adjustment on their faces, the mental recalibration as they processed that this woman, this Latina woman, was now their equal, if not their superior. When they reached the lobby, Brittany, the receptionist, was nowhere to be seen. A different young woman sat at the front desk, and she greeted Maya with professional courtesy and genuine warmth. Maya wondered if Brittany was in HR right now, learning about sensitivity and unconscious bias, or if she was updating her resume. Either way, it was a start. As Maya walked through the marble lobby toward the exit, her heels clicking confidently on the polished floor, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. She was carrying the hopes of her mother, the dreams of young lawyers who looked like her, and the responsibility of representation. It was a heavy burden, but one she had been preparing to carry her entire life. Outside on the sidewalk, Maya pulled out her phone and called her mother. "Mommy, it's me. I got the job. No, better than that. I got the respect. And I'm going to make sure every person who walks through those doors knows that they belong there if they're qualified to be there." As she hung up and hailed a taxi, Maya Rodriguez smiled. Tomorrow she would start the real work of changing Sterling Associates from the inside out. Today, she had already won the most important battle, the one for her own dignity and the dignity of everyone who would come after her. The glass ceiling hadn't just been cracked, it had been shattered completely, and Maya Rodriguez was just getting started. As we dive deeper, let us know in the comment where you're watching from. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you will never miss our next story.